Not about to go deep. We're down good.
Gideon, it's a pleasure to have you here, bro.
Pleasure to be here, my bro.
Man, it's been a while. I think I hit you up a couple of years ago to come on. You're a busy man.
Yeah, I try to be. Man.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do, so.
Yeah, hey, there always is, man. We're a constant work in progress, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
It.
Yes, sir.
Man, I know you obviously from acting, Thor Ragnarok back in the day, man.
There it is, yeah.
And I know, obviously, you used to be a rugby league player back in the day. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did you do a little stint in the NRL at one point? Or
Man, no, I was on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So, I waited, but I never got the call up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played trial games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who were you with in the end?
I was with the Broncos for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I did 1 year with Manly Sea Eagles.
Okay, I think Manly is what Jeremy told me. Yeah. And I was like,
because he's a fan, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, bro. He loves rugby league, man. He's a fan of you too.
Awesome.
Man, no shit. So we've done a couple of podcasts, me and Jeremy together.
Oh, right.
And when I said, oh man, I'm getting Gideon on. He's like, why are you getting Gideon on? I'm like, yeah, bro. He's like, oh, I'm listening to that one. Like, yeah.
Shout out to Jeremy.
Yeah, shout out to Jez. And I know you're on his film Western Culture as well. Yeah.
I missed the premiere. Were you there?
Not at the premiere, but I have seen it. Yeah.
Oh man,
he sent me a link for it, and I gave
you
it
got
a
the
watch.
link.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the link,
dude. He'll send it to you, man.
I got to hit him up.
You got to hit him up. Yeah, great film, man. It's really came together awesome. Like his growth from Alpha Masjid, which I was on his first feature. Man, it's exponential, and it's still got the J.R. Hill twist to it that I like to say, the tone of his filmmaking. So, it's good. You got to say, I saw you there. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. Getting it on there.
Yeah.
And, man, it's a great film. But, so, and I know you from acting, obviously. You've got the rugby league background.
Yep.
And you're a personal trainer, obviously.
I'm a mindset coach now.
What? A
mindset coach, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
Got the guy right there. But, and that is one thing that I do want to talk to you about, along with a lot of other things. But, I mean, for you, man, like I follow you on the socials and everything. Obviously, I knew you personally. We met a few years back. And you're a very inspirational and motivational dude, you know? Like when I see your videos, your posts, it gets that fire going, even though it's there, but it burns harder, I'm like, oh man, I gotta do something, man. Gideon's out there getting after it,
Thank you.
And it's awesome, man. But where does that come from? I mean, is that something that you've always had within you, or is it through life circumstances you've found this kind of confidence and this fire? Like,
right. It's definitely something through life circumstances.
Yeah.
First and foremost, give a shout out to my mum and dad. They led the way. They're the trailblazers when it comes to being resilient, hardworking, dedicated, commitment. All those big words we throw around.
Yeah.
They had to move countries to a place with no relatives, no friends, and English being a second language.
Yeah.
And build from there. So, watching that from the sidelines, you sort of incorporate a bit of inspiration from that. And
And that's a huge inspiration for you growing up
absolutely.
And your siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Watching mum, 3 jobs, and then we're living on welfare, plus doing a degree. You leave less room for excuses after watching that.
That's it, the number one thing, excuses, right? Yeah, the one thing that probably can bog us down and we get stuck in, right?
Indeed,
Yeah, I mean, so it's great. I mean, so you applied that to your sports and obviously early on and everything? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the sports, it was a short, fast-lived journey, my sporting, if I may tell a bit about the journey. We moved to Australia in 93, and by 95, I was introduced to rugby league.
Yeah.
And with that, 97, I received a sporting scholarship. And then before I knew it was 2003, I'd finished my scholarship, just playing rugby, paid little attention to education. So, I finished with bad grades.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm with the Brisbane Broncos. Everything was just moving fast. And I didn't know whether I was playing the sport because I loved it or because of the applause that I was getting from left, right, and centre. Yeah. So I didn't really apply myself inspirationally, if you will, to the art of sports.
Yeah.
It's what happened to me after I was let go from rugby league for not being good enough, if you will.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of an identity crisis that took place there, and a bit of self-building, self-rebuilding, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And through that journey, that's when, I started drawing from my past experiences, watching my mum on the sideline and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so, yeah, obviously that was a lot to go through, or something that you hold to your identity, right? Like, or, you know, like you said, you're not sure why you were doing it, whether it was the scholarship, the setup, the applause that you're getting from your teammates, coaches,
Absolutely.
people on the sidelines and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing. Where you draw that inspiration from, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose it.
Absolutely.
As you're saying, and you got to find it, and that's a very hard thing. I mean, so what did you go through? What were the stages for you to find that again for yourself?
Man, if I have to be completely vulnerable and honest, if I may, after I was let go from the Brisbane Broncos, I hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know, Wayne Bennett calls you into his office. You think you're getting the call up, but you're being told that the Broncos are moving on and you're not part of the plans. And then suddenly everything goes quiet.
Yeah.
You know, then you introduce substance abuse and all that stuff, self-destructive behavior, self-worth was at a low.
Yeah.
Nothing had meaning, you know, coming out of a relationship. So you were just, I was in the dumps. It was only lucky that Manly Sea Eagles made the phone call and said, hey, we'll give you a run. And went down to Sydney. And whilst I was down there, I found myself trying to be somebody. You know, I found myself trying to look for that validation, trying to get Des Hasler to love me and, you know, and just pat me on the back and tell me, right? So I got sick of it.
Yeah.
You know, I just said, I'm better than this. You know, I don't have to wait for people. And so, you know, I hung up the boots and made my transition to the arts after watching my brother perform in the arts. And I thought, I like that journey. Let's go down that road.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Which he's having success in, right?
Yeah.
A lot of success.
Yeah, he's doing well for himself.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember you were doing that theatre show with him, right? Like you were a support act and he was the lead, was it? In that boxing?
Prize fighter.
Prize fighter, because I remember that going around. When was that, 2016?
That was 2016 and 2017,
Yeah.
So 2016 we did Brisbane Festival and then 2017 we did the national tour.
Yeah, I remember you getting that. I mean, that's wicked, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so was that like one of your first roles in the arts, sort of, so to speak, you know, as like speaking role and something of prominence, I guess you could say. Yeah,
something to stamp me into the industry, if you will.
Yeah.
After that, that's when I found, you know, a lot of doors started to open and, you know, I was invited to a few more parties, if you will, that stamped my career into the arts.
Yeah.
And then from then on, you know, when I did 2 more national tours and that's where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing great. I saw him on Nautilus, that Disney series. He's got a pretty decent role on that. And I was just like, I saw the last name and I was like, so that's his brother. I'm like, nice. God, what, you know, basically a lead, you know, leadish role. And I mean, there's a lot of leads in that show.
Did you have a chat with him? Did you meet him?
No, I haven't met him. No, I haven't.
Right.
But I was on set around him quite a bit. You know, like it was, you know what it's like. There's a little bit of segregation sometimes between main cast and us minnows doing our thing on there, sitting in the background. But no, I had a few good numbers because I did a bit of stand-in work on there as well, as playing several different roles in some of it. And I saw him there. It was quite funny, like between takes, you know, they're mucking around and he's obviously got a sports background a bit as well. Like, and they had a few of those guys and they were, you know, you find the activities to entertain yourself. You know what it's like on set. And they're like playing this game, throwing a ball against the wall, but trying to get, I don't know what they were playing, but he was the orchestrator of it. Wow. I was like, oh man, I need to get in on that. But you know, you got to know your place sometimes unless someone asks you to jump on in. But I mean, everyone was pretty friendly on that, like all the leads and stuff.
That's good. That's always good.
But no, it was great to see. And then I saw your sister on there as well, right?
Yeah, she was on there. Yeah.
She was doing PA work. And I was talking to her on there and I'm like, geez, the whole fam's in here.
I'm telling you, I didn't get the call.
I was like, where's Gideon at? Yeah, that's what I said to her.
I'm
like, I know he's a busy man anyway, but
you're too busy for Disney.
No one's too busy for Disney.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for that season 2 to come,
Indeed. Has it been greenlit?
Bro, I was hearing different things a lot of the time, you know, through the process. I mean, when we were shooting, it was like they're rolling straight into season 2. That's what they said for a long period of time. And then, you know, I don't want to talk out of school too much here because obviously, you know, but that was what I was hearing through like a good 6 months or something. And then it was like, oh, the producer, oh, here, guys, you got to, but, today they're going to, they're making the call. And I think it came down to, from what I understood, and I could be completely wrong, but London kind of wanted it, and a lot of it's set in London. We were faking places for, like, and all this sort of thing. Like, it's sort of, a British kind of show, I guess. Like, there's a lot of different ethnicities in there.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was set in, London times back in the day.
Right.
But that's about where it got to. And then I heard, you hear from 10 different people that it is greenlit and that it's happening and they are rolling through. And then you hear other people like that were talking to the producers and stuff like that going, oh, they're still making the decision. And and there's a lot of things, it's obviously studio times, like they're burning money, not having anyone there. So Mortal Kombat 2's about to start shooting there soon, which, man, I want to get in on that.
Please.
That would be so awesome. I could see you doing it, that's for sure.
So we'll see.
Say less. Where's the call up now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. So I believe that starts shooting in June. So
June.
Very close. So but that's great to see. So so you started doing the theatre show and everything. You got your taste for it.
Yep.
I mean, what did that do for you? Did you found a thing again to focus your energy on, to build that fire back up and see where it sort of takes you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was slightly disappointed in myself because when I got the role, I found that sense of validation.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, I was a bit disappointed because it was as if I was waiting to be validated again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I said, why do I feel extra happy because I got the role? Why do I feel an extra sense of purpose just because I've been accepted? And then that's when I started doing a bit of self-work and, self-exploration. And ultimately that's what led to Zembition, which is my lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're rocking that today?
Every day.
Oh, every day. Yeah, I'll wear it on my chest. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah. So that was birthed. And so what's the setup behind
Zembition?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, it's a made up word.
Yeah.
I purposely went down that track. The reason being is when you pick words that are associated in other realms, they usually is a preconceived idea and all that stuff. So I wanted to grab a word that no one's ever heard of. So Zembition, Zem is half of my last name, and Bition is half of the word ambition, given that it is, me always being ambitious, always on the go, realizing that I'm not my circumstances. There's always work to be done.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, looking on my life, I've pulled myself out of certain circumstances and ways of looking at myself and built myself up into, the person that I am today. And, I feel I can teach those fundamental tools, if you will. And so I came up with the mantra, you're more than what you've become, you're more than what happens to you, which is something I told myself, that I was more than my circumstances. And that's what I teach ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good fundamental mindset to sort of have to start to build from, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can get weighed down in that funk like you're speaking about before that I've gone through, that I'm sure everybody goes through, whether they want to admit it or not, And it is tough, because like you said, you can go to substance abuse, you can find your little heels within yourself that can lead you down a path or what have you. It's kind of easy. Like sometimes, I still find it reoccurring. I got to tell myself things like that as well,
Right.
and that's a great one. Like I see you posted and I'm like, I vibe with that. I feel that. But it's easy to kind of lean on those laurels a little bit sometimes, right? And I still find myself, even though I know better, sometimes when, it's not just one thing. There's one thing and then there's a few things that happen, right?
Yeah.
And you get stuck there and you sit in it for just a little bit.
Boom.
And I still do it, man.
Yeah.
I still got to pull myself out of it. So obviously no one's perfect and we're not saying that we are. But that happens and you catch yourself in it and you're like, come on, bro. What are you doing? You can do better than this. Okay, you had your little week or whatever you had to yourself, don't keep leaning on that. And it's time to get moving again. What are those things that you like to preach within, your program that you're doing for mindset, or what are those things that you like to teach people to sort of go to when in a moment like that?
Right. The first things first, I usually encourage people to get familiar with self.
Yeah.
You know, and how that looks like in summary, because I'm, you know, tapping into a bit of my workshop here.
Yeah.
Normally have to
We don't
pay
need to
for.
give away too much secrets.
No, but
He's feeding the bird comes, guys. You know?
one of the big ones is conversation with self.
Yeah.
You know, and what that looks like is, you know, what is self-worth to you? What does it mean? The reason being, if you don't have these elements instilled within you, you know, self-worth, values, boundaries, what tends to happen is when life hits you with circumstances, we start to diminish these. We start to compromise them. So, for example, you know, you go through a bad breakup and suddenly you're not brushing your teeth in the morning. You're not making your bed, and one thing leads after the other.
Yeah.
And so the importance of having the conversation about yourself to yourself, it's always that reminder that, okay, I've gone through this breakup, or I've been made redundant, or these circumstances have presented themselves, but this is what I need to get done, you know, and putting yourself in that, you know, position where you've at least got to fight back. Whereas if a lot of people not a lot of people who lack conversations about themselves to themselves tend to identify themselves in accordance to the circumstance. So if someone breaks up with you, well, I'm ugly, no one wants me, you know, their conversation is based off the circumstance. Whereas if you've built something within you, and the great way to do this is through solitude. You know, I encourage people, find a bit of solitude, find time to yourself, invest in self, build on this. So when circumstances come, you've got something to hit back with.
Yeah.
Rather than just accepting and taking it all in.
Yeah. And then you go on that spiral, right?
Then you go on
Within
a spiral.
yourself, and then you find yourself, 20 kg overweight.
There you go.
Not doing anything
you see
about
what I mean?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
It's easy to do. Human tendency, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the mind is wired like that. You know, it's what's the safest option? It likes to recoil into safety, or, you know, something less proactive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then you get stuck.
And then you get stuck, and
Yeah.
thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you're doing workshops now, or I did have seen that you've started posting up about that. So that's something you've been working on for a while now? Or?
Yeah, I've started a workshop series. And so each topic, we cover different topics throughout the series. So the first one we did was relationship with self. So that's just heightening, you know, your ability for self-awareness.
Yeah.
So again, we go through the conversations about self-conversation, convictions, vulnerability, all those elements, and how they play a role in you identifying yourself and working through life.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so where can people go to like check that out?
GideonMzembe.com.au.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all there.
it's all up there. Yeah.
Sweet. I'll grab that. I'll get the email, not the email, sorry, the website. And I'll put the socials, I'll put all the links in there for everyone to have a look.
Appreciate
so so we can get that out. But so I mean, so you started on your journey with the acting and everything, and in that, and you did the boxing theatre show. Sorry, what was it called again? The
Prize Fighter.
The Prize Fighter. Yeah, that's right. So where did you start to go after you did those runs? Because obviously national, it's quite a big thing. Like how long was the show?
We did a 6-month stint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did all the major festivals, and then
And was it just you and your brother?
There was a cast of 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So Rati, Nelson, my brother, myself, Maggie, and Marcus.
Yeah.
6. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And so where did you start going to from there? Like, was the theatre the thing for you? You felt, or you like the TV and film? It's an age-old debate I have with everybody in green rooms.
I thought I was going to be a TV guy.
Yeah.
I really thought I was going to be a TV guy. But when I got my taste of theatre, Prize Fighter was a nice taste because it's a physical play.
Yeah.
And so I can draw a lot from my life experiences when it comes to the physicality and movement. Boxing was the sport we used in there, and I do boxing training, you know, a lot of my days.
Yeah.
But it was the next 2 plays, My Way Home, which was the next play, and Animal Farm by George Orwell. These plays required me to really invest in my character, if you will, and be less physical and more, storytelling and that's where I really fell in love with theatre.
Okay.
Because it wasn't about me walking on stage with my chest out and you know, half ego playing. It was really showing an emotional side. I had to, you know, express emotions on stage, which was a bit daunting, but you know, we got there with the help of the producer Michael Futcher. So he did some work on me, and we tapped in and we got there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you've been you do a bit of film and a bit of TV stuff, right? Though, like on the side, right? You're doing a bit of that?
Yeah, well, I've done we just did 2 commercials, overseas commercials.
Yeah.
But otherwise I've just been doing short films and that.
Yeah.
But with the acting, I've been focusing more on Zembition at the moment because I'm starting to get a bit of traction, and I really want to build a solid foundation with that. And before I come back into the acting, speaking of which, I've done about 10 auditions this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting. One of them, surely someone's going to call back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so is that like TVC auditions and
all theatre?
Yeah. Oh, theatre,
All
right?
theatre.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
I did an Elvis one yesterday.
Yeah, right.
And I had to sing with the baritone to an F. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Because I don't either, and I'm looking at you like, what?
I was hoping you'd say,
yeah. No, I'm not really musically inclined, other than I love the art form. You know?
Exactly.
Huge lover of the art form, but that classical kind of singing and everything is just over my head a little bit.
I'm hearing you, bro. Yeah.
I did do a theatre show a long time ago. You know, I haven't done much, but no, sorry, it was opera show. So that was the next level of it.
Wow.
That wasn't me singing. We were background, basically stagehands and dressing the scenes. We were moving all the things around that people were in and like the set, and we'd have moments and interact with the main cast and stuff like that. But obviously these are opera singers, and Agrippina won like 5 Helpman Awards, which is like the Australian, Australia national awards. Where I was going with that, not New Zealand included. But so that was quite an eye opener, eh? But it's fun to interact with that crowd a little bit. Like we had little moments where we would do with the crowd, you know, and you just do different things every time. You just push the note just a little bit for your limelight, your moment. It's fun, eh? Like it's terrifying, but it's fun. Like, you know, to a certain extent, I mean, dude, I was like terrified of doing speeches in school and things like that. So to go for this turn and start performing and things like that is just another whole mindset switch, you know, like we were saying before. And you feel that power within you and what you can do with it and tap into it. Yeah. So, I mean, so you've done a few auditions and stuff like that. And so are you working on anything at the moment, or just obviously
there is an ABA. There's a TV series coming out in Australia. It's an Australian TV show. It's a sitcom. And that's as much as I can say at the moment. No names. Don't say it if you don't.
No.
I was just trying to think. I'm pretty sure it's out.
Yeah.
If you Google it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So it's about to be released, or is
we start filming this year.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
That's looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's not that Interface one, is it? Or what?
Interface.
Is it Interface?
Is it?
I don't know. No, because I remember when auditions went around years ago when they were doing that, and I thought you were attached to it from what I understood. This is a while ago, and I know, like, I think it was like maybe during the time that shall not be mentioned, where the world stopped and all the things, and then I saw that they did like a podcast with it as well.
They're doing a podcast, it's up to episode 5 now.
Yeah. So are you involved in that or not?
Not in the podcast.
Okay,
but with the
series. Yeah, cool. So that is on the card still. I was wondering where that went to. But then I saw Amy Casey post the other day and sort of said about the podcast, and I actually read the captions.
There we go.
and saw what was was actually going on with I mean, that shed some light onto it. So cool.
Yeah, shout out to Red Empire Productions as well, man.
They're doing good things.
They're doing big things. Yeah,
that's awesome to see. Especially Queenslanders doing their thing.
Indeed,
so that's great. That it's more things, more eyes, more everything around here. So it's good. It's really picking up. I mean, it has been for years since I've been in the industry, and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Amen.
So that's great to see, and it's awesome for guys like us as well, and the ladies and everyone. So it's good to see. Well, that's cool. That's on the cards. So you got something to look forward to, right? To sink your teeth into, other than what you're working on now with your mindset coaching and everything.
Absolutely.
So are you still doing personal training and all that as well?
I've got a handful of clients. These guys are more
keep
personal.
That for an income sort of.
Yeah, that too. But I enjoy that intimacy working with people. Mindset coach obviously is the mindset. But I also like, that taking people through that physical transformation. Yeah. So one of my favorite clients at the moment is Nick and David from Dead Puppet Society.
Okay.
I don't know if you know those.
No, but it kind of rings a bell.
They've got a show on
I probably should
Ishmael,
know.
which is out next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
On what, sorry? On?
Theatre.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. QPAC.
Yeah.
So, see, I enjoy them, you know what I mean? Like training them, and they're in the arts. So it's conversation. It's
the personalities.
personality. Yeah. So it works. It's magic.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the best part, is it, like surrounding yourself with people that are getting after it and doing awesome things. Like, because you can sometimes, you know, through circumstance or whatever, isolate yourself once again, and then you go in your shell or whatever, and then you come back out and do things. And it's really important to have that around you. And it's like, it's hard because, you know, like you do films with people and you're like best of friends, and it's like this, and then it goes on after, and then slowly titters out, like, and then you're like, oh shit, what am I doing now? Like, and you constantly, it's like an industry full of validation, isn't it? To a certain extent, or validation within yourself or you know, it's still a thing. And it's like, you have that, and that's why I sort of, you know, you find yourself with different groups of people like that. And that's what I love about doing this. And obviously you've got your own podcast as well, but you get someone on and you can sit down for a couple of hours and have that kind of chat. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm back in it. And you're jazzed, you know, afterwards and, you know, during, and it's great. But I think that's an important factor that I loved about the industry when I first started out, and still continue to, you know, and so that's why I thought it was great to highlight that, and entertainers and you know, people, you know, with hearing their journey, you know. I think it's awesome because, I mean, people make it, you know, it's like overnight success. You know, like, where did that come from? And then, like, you know, if you really look back, you can see like a lot of these main actors, they're in like extras in certain scenes and like big films, and you're like, oh, look, there's like, you know, a young Hemsworth or whoever, you know, like, and it's just like, oh, you know, you wouldn't have noticed that before because you don't notice it, like, because they're doing their job. They're just, I guess, fill in the background, painting the scene, whatever you want to call it. But it is great to see.
The good ones. Have you seen Air, the new Michael Jordan movie?
I watched it last week when it came out on streaming. Yeah.
You know the receptionist, the girl.
Yeah, Jessica.
There you go.
I know, bro. I keep my ear out. Yeah, dude. Yeah. She's doing great. Jeez, what's her last name? I'm totally blanking out. Jessica. Yeah. So shout out to her. She's doing awesome.
She's doing fantastic.
She had that show, The Outpost. So that had 3 seasons that I know of. I'm not sure if it had more, but she was the lead in that. And and then she was doing the thing. I mean, dude, so I had my own I was watching what she was doing, you know, like years and years ago. This is back like when we met, when we were doing Jeremy's first feature.
Right.
So because I sort of was watching the come up, and I'm like, this chick's she's gonna do big things. You know, you can see, you can just see the vibe, how she's getting after it. She's dedicated. Obviously, she's gorgeous as well, which helps in this industry.
No doubt,
and like there was because I was helping with casting on that as well, and there was a role that was like playing opposite me, and I was like, oh, she'd be great, like you know. And so I tried to hit already, you know, the sharks were swimming, I think, for her, like this is back then, and like obviously she just had that show like a few years ago now, but it's so that was way back then, and I hit her up. Like, but even then, she like had managed, you know, like I ended up, like I talked to her and she's like, oh yeah, I'm interested, like maybe have it. I think her mum was managing her at the time.
Correct.
And so like I don't know if I got to her, I sent her the script anyway, nothing came of it, you know, long story short. But I started there and I was like, Jeremy, I'm telling you, like, she's going to be good. Like we give her, you know, like he's like, bro, for sure, send it through, you know, like, and see what goes. But unfortunately we weren't allowed to like get her for that role, but it's amazing to see what she's done with it. She's the receptionist in there for the night company. So check that out, guys. If you see the film, it's a great film. Have you seen it?
Great film.
Yeah.
Favorite line in that movie was it actually hit me, but he said that scene where he says, "Everyone at this table will not be remembered."
Oh yeah. Yeah, you'll be the only one that's right. And then you can see Phil Knight just going, what the fuck? What? Remember who your boss is? Like, I was just waiting for it to cut to him, mate, and I'm just like crinkling up a bit of paper. Like, what are you talking about? Because obviously he had a bit of ego on him too, as you kind of got to do to make that happen.
Of course,
it was the only thing missing in that film I felt, and I know why it wasn't. kind of there. It was just like the whole Michael Jordan aspect, how they couldn't show him and they couldn't have an actor play him because clearly, as you could see, how he, I don't want to spoil it, but like how the deal got eventually made with him getting his bit. You knew that, I mean, the dude's worth billions, you know, and that he wasn't going to show that name and likeness, you know, it was already tied up then. I mean, a lot of people probably missed that straight away, but you can see why it was that way. And as soon as they did one shot where they just showed the back of him and they weren't going to I was like, they're not going to show him for the whole movie. And that sucks because that is a huge thing that would have just kind of shown that heart of the film a little more, I think, and that kind of impactful character. Whether it was too much, obviously, of an impactful character to take away from the story that they were telling anyway. But that's what I think that was the little bit that was just missing. The only thing that was missing from the film for me. I loved it. It was great. And you know, Matt Damon's awesome. Man. Always.
Man, that guy, he rocked it.
Oh, man.
He rocked it.
It's like, I was trying not to compare it to like Ford versus Ferrari, like his role, like that was probably just this bit better, you know, if I'm completely honest. But I love, you know, like that's still up.
It's still
a great film. And I love that. But yeah, that part was the only thing missing from it. And I knew why. And like Viola Davis as his mother is so good, but she kind of like had the character without having the character, if you know what I mean, like of Michael, you know, she painted the character without showing it on screen, which is powerful in itself.
That's her husband in there too.
Oh, right.
That's
is it?
husband.
Okay. Yeah. Is he an actor normally or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He is. Yeah. Because I thought I'd seen him in stuff before.
And then, she tells a story. They met on set. He took her to church and then she knew he was the one.
Yeah. Boom. That's it. Yeah. He's good. Yeah. I liked him. Like just his personality, like he was that, like even just when Damon rocks up to his house and just that like scene, I really liked that. You know, that was one of like the real I really enjoyed that part. And him slowly, you know, and then them in the backyard chatting and guys, I'm going to stop. Like, giving this. I'm not. I'm feeding little breadcrumbs so people check it out, you know. I'm doing my bit. But yeah, it was great. And yeah, great to see her doing big things. And I mean, I wonder what's next for her, you know. Like, I mean, being on set and acting in a scene with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, so that's about as good as you can get, right? Like, obviously she didn't have heaps of lines or anything to off-road. That would be the next level of it. But I mean, just to have that is just like, you know, something on your bucket list that you got to tick. Like, it's just that's really cool to see. But so I mean, that's great. But so yeah, I mean, so you've been auditioning, you're doing the thing that you have to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep doing. It's funny, Like it was last episode I had Candace Hill on. I don't know if you know her.
No.
She's an actress, been doing the thing for like 25 plus years around here. But we talked a lot about that, you know, like the start of it, like the identity that you hold to the things that you're doing. And then you go through that and you learn better and you're like holding out for these roles and you just not get it. You're getting the callbacks and you're just not quite getting it. And you're putting so much validation and all that. And like, why aren't, like, I'm a great, you know, actor, actress, whatever you want to say. Why aren't I getting, you know, but it's just like there's so many to choose from sort of thing, like as well. And, just going through that whole process of, and then just going, you know what, I'm just going to do what I love and just, you know, see what happens, right? I think it's something that, you know, we sort of got back to full circle in it, like because she's about to direct like her own feature, like, you know, experimental sort of feature. And she's an actress normally, but, you know, obviously does things like that. But yeah, she's taken all that on. And it was just great to see that whole process. And I'm like, I totally feel you. Yeah. Because it's so easy to hold on to those things when you first start out and you're just like so jazzed up and then you're getting like, you know, an audition for like a Marvel, you know, sure, it's a bit part or whatever in this, but you're just like, man, like if myself 5 years ago could thought this was even remotely on the cards, he would have slapped you and said you're crazy, you know? Like, so it's kind of nuts when you're in it, but it's like almost like things are so obtainable too, though, like as well. And it's like, even on that Nautilus series, like one of the guys that we were like on Ragnarok and stuff with, like he had a cast role, you know, kind of like your a bit lesser role than your brother did, but he was in quite a few. He was like main cast, but not, I'm trying not to say too much, but, you know, like, so, you know, we know him from a thing, you know, like, and been around him and like, you see him doing short films and stuff like we're all doing and other films or whatever. But he's got like, it's just so, you know, you just need one thing like that,
That's it.
or one or two, you know, just to get that fire going and
Yeah.
people start knowing who you are and know that you're
Exactly.
like bankable as a cast.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden the doors start opening,
Yeah.
right? And it's just there.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's the obtainable you would think, but
Indeed.
it's just, you know, the unobtainable, I should say. And
Yeah.
then that you think, but it's just like, it's so obtainable. It's just like,
It's-
you
yeah.
just,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a hard thing, isn't it? It's a crazy industry to be
It
a part
is.
of. And it's a hard slog that you
Yeah.
could get nowhere in, but that's one of those like fundamentals within yourself, right? Like your core fundamentals of your
Boom.
belief system, I guess you
Boom.
could say, of where it starts to get that own satisfaction within yourself to keep going, right?
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
like, I mean, I got to it to what, you know, like I've been, you know, had some great opportunities and failed sometimes, you know, or whatever, which is a hard pill to swallow
It is. It is.
when you're kind of a perfectionist as well
Yeah.
sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's all like, where did I, like, sure, okay, I went wrong, but like, did I go wrong everywhere that I think I'm going?
There
You
we
know,
go.
when I spiraled
Yeah.
like that, that was one of my big spirals that I had within
Sheesh.
myself, like that, of like letting myself down, but more so letting other people down around me, you know,
Right.
like not, I'm trying to, you know, paraphrase within it all,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
yeah, and it's like that was hard to come back through.
Right.
Like letting friends down too, you know, that
Right.
you're like working with and yeah, that was a hard one. That was a
Wow.
hard one for me. And I think it was also because like I'm working with people that I love and admire, you know, and
Right.
when you're in like those circles like that, which is great to be in, like in this industry and in life and anything you choose, like people that boost you up, you
Yeah.
know, not pull you down or what have
Amen.
you. When you don't have that as much anymore, you're back to this, you know,
Mhm.
and you really, I had to do some soul searching
Oh.
over a couple of years, really. I was still doing things in the industry, still, you know, like you wouldn't, you're an
Yeah.
actor, you just
Yeah,
got to get
yeah,
on with
you
the
just-
show,
that's
man.
it,
Like,
that's it. Show goes on.
but yeah, tough time, like in my life, in that period. And it's like, it's a rebirth of sorts, I guess, kind of. That's what it felt like.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, to go through that and then keep pushing, it's like, but yeah, like I go back to that thing of like, what am I doing this for?
There it is.
You know?
There it is.
And it was like at the start, it was because I love film and I love, you know,
There it
and
is.
I've learned so much through it in
Yeah.
a weird way
Yeah.
and personalities and things that you didn't know that you in real life yourself that you weren't getting. So
There
you're
it
getting
is.
it from this thing
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, I love this. Like, and then you find yourself just like when I moved to Australia, like falling into it, you know, and going,
Yeah.
oh, I can do this stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and people are going, man, you're good for this, you
There
know,
you
you can
go.
do that, and you get jazzed up. You're
Yeah.
like, you believe your own hype, hey.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that core fundamentals, like you said before, that foundation of importance within yourself and how
There it
you
is.
feel about yourself and the belief. And I just went back to like, you know, what am I doing this for then? Like, you
Boom.
know, like because you start to go, like if you have a bit of a negative thought, you're like, oh man, I got to do this audition last
There
minute.
you
I got to
go.
drop everything. I got to
There
set
you
everything
go.
up. I got to get this person in. I got to
Yeah.
do this. And you start to go, fuck, what am I doing this
Yeah.
for? Like, you know,
Yeah.
because it's a huge time suck of your life. But
Yeah.
it was like, okay, so you know, you gotta do these auditions. The auditions are part of it.
There
you know,
it
whether
is.
you get anything or not, it is part of it. You get better by doing them. You're warming that muscle up. You're still going. You know.
There you go.
But for me, you know, like my main thing I really love is doing the films. You know,
Oh.
being on set is my main passion and love of
My
like,
man.
you know, connecting with people.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing minor role, you know, like meeting
Yeah.
a guy like you and like everyone else on Thor and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like that's amazing. That environment, you know, it's just another world
Yeah.
to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And it's so fantastic. But then I was like, okay, you just love doing the thing. You love telling the stories. You love
Uh-huh.
playing the characters. So let's just do that.
Boom.
You know, and so you start creating your own
Boom.
thing and things like, you know, like that's, I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it before, but now I'm like going on a solo journey over like writing. Like I was going to do it's a short film as like a proof of concept basically for a feature that I've got, like of a heist film.
All right.
But yeah, the more I go into it and the more I've marinated and gone down the path, I'm like, man, I should just do this as the feature. Like this is like, you know how like the first
Wow.
film is always
yeah.
the one, you know,
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah.
like, why sell yourself short? And after like speaking with Candace about all that on the
Yeah.
last pod, it's just like, yeah, I got to do it this way. I just
My
got
man.
to, yeah. So,
Get it.
and it's funny because
Yes.
I got a role in there that I like you for,
Ah.
and it's with Jeremy as well, and
Hey.
like you know, yeah. So I wasn't even going to bring it up, but we're on the road, and I was like, I can't see anyone but Gideon and like Jeremy playing these roles in this film, and it's just but when I get script done and everything, because now it's like I had the short just so fixated in, like I knew how the inner workings of it all, and what I was going to do, and then when I got that. When I changed my mind and what it was, I'm like, okay, so I got to go back to the drawing board and rethink how I'm going to structure these characters and everything, and everything. So it's like, it was hard because I was on such a momentum swing with it.
Right.
And now I'm like, now I got to just chill for a sec and just figure that part out and then go again, But man, I'll hit you up and I'll get you the script at that point and have a look. And So, but dude, like it's no one else is going to play it. If you're available, it's yours,
bro.
man.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I remember you auditioned for my film ages ago, Grind, that we did, the homeless guy. And it's like, dude, you were like, the other guy got it was, I think you know him too, Brad Lever. He was on Thor with it. So he got the role right.
My man.
He's the older dude. You can kind of see the cast type we were going for.
I got you.
But I was like, I want Gideon to audition for something and this is like, and I know he can do something with this.
Yeah.
And so I just want to see it. And what you did was like, blew me away. Like, I was like, because you're not looking like a homeless dude, let's face it, but you did a thing with it. And I was just like, fuck, now I've got a decision to make. Before when it was basically Brad's role, but your performance was so good. And I was like, man, it's believable, isn't it? Director's there with me. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, but Brad's the cast type, that we would just happen to, the older gentleman, the wise kind of archetype in the story that comes from out of nowhere. And he did a great job. And so he got it. But I was always just like, when you did that, I was just like, man, he did. Why did I ask him to do it? I knew he was going to give me a headache of casting,
Wow.
But it was so good. And that was pretty early on, I think, too, when you were just starting to do the acting thing,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was, it was good. I was like, oh, fuck, he's got something there, But see, this is the thing. Like, I keep that in mind, obviously, and as like a lot of other directors and casting people and writers, will do, producers as well, will like see those auditions, and you think that it's nothing what you're putting forward, and you might not get that role, but later on they're like, oh, I remember there was this guy, and he was just so powerful. And I'm like, what about him for this? Oh yeah, I'll send it to him just even outside of cut, and then show it to the producers, and they're like, oh shit, where was this guy? I mean, and that's a thing, and you got to know that every time, right? That you're auditioning for something, is that at least somebody, you hope, is looking at it after. That is the other thing that you go through. You're like, man, I'm just another number on this. How many auditions are they actually? How many people do they send this to? Because I mean, I don't know if you get it as well. I mean, your cast type might be a bit not always as plentiful as as like I'm just gonna the white dude guy next door, like or whatever, like you're a character in yourself, but obviously you take on other characters, and like you said, you had to tap into different emotions when you're doing those other theatre shows and things like that, and you're learning and you go better, and you always get better, but it's like I don't know if you get this, but you're like, you get a message from your mate. You're like, I know what this is going to be. They've got the same audition. Hey, bro, did you get that? You get that audition for Jake? Yeah. Should we do this together? Okay. Like, do you ever get that much, with people? Yeah.
More and more now. More people coming into the industry, and again, there was a time where more so my brother, he was the only guy that looked like him. Otherwise, I'd cast from overseas and stuff like that. But now it's, everyone's out there.
Yeah, and they're opening casting up a lot too more now as well, to like all ethnicities as well, which is a great thing. Like, and then you're like, oh man, like, I didn't see this coming to it, but they brought this thing to it that you're like, oh, now I've got a decision to make. Once again, like it's like, okay, this is more layers upon the character that we didn't even think that we were casting for, that we've found now and that we love. And like, there's the role for you. So, I mean, it's great that the industry has gone that way, I think.
Definitely.
I think when they force it into roles, though, is just the swirly thing of like, it's like, I mean, just cast the best person for the role. Who cares what their ethnicity is and whatever. And, it sucks that they kind of got to tick a lot of boxes now. But in saying that, it doesn't, because it gives a lot more people opportunities that they may not have had before.
Exactly.
And they get that, and then all of a sudden they're a Hollywood superstar, you know, like, and because they got that one opportunity that they might not have got before. You know, it might have taken them 300 auditions in 4 years, you know, or whatever to get. So, yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing about the industry now. But I mean, so, okay, so yeah, you're doing your theatre show. You did a few theatre shows. You're doing the auditions. Did you kind of start going away from doing any like the extra work and stuff like that? Or, you know, like to yourself, did you go, oh, I'm not going to do much of that anymore? Or are you still?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, but I've always been open to the call. Like, it's like, I like what you said earlier. I don't see it as just being an extra. You know what I mean? I love the connection. I love connecting with people. You know, and one thing, you know, even on Ragnarok, I met a lot of friends on there, and a lot of connections. A lot of it was a beautiful experience. You know? And,
I agree.
And that's what I'm about. You know what I mean? And
experience.
Experience. Absolutely. Like if I'm not going to get the lead role or support role, why, you know, avoid an experience? You know. So I don't get bitter like that. You know what I mean? This is life. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's the connections you make with them. That, like if I wasn't with you on that film and jived with you, you know, like it's like you wouldn't be here right now. Like, you know, it's just one of those things. And I met so many people on that too. Like that was actually one of the best films that I've worked on, hands down.
I'd go as far as saying that too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. Like
great crew.
And there was so many like extras and core group of, you know, the different things on there. But it's like so many awesome people that are doing awesome things now. And it's just, you stay connected with that, you know, like whether it's like, you might not see them, like we haven't seen each other for since then, probably a few years, like, and it's, and then it's like, but you know, like you keep an eye on what they, like you say, you keep your ear to the ground and see what they're doing. And you're like, oh man, like you got to reconnect, or you like them for this or what have you. So yeah, I mean, that's why it's great to have you on now, because you've been at the top of my list for a while to get on the pod.
We're here.
Yeah.
Because it's funny when we go back to the Thor, originally I had a part in that.
Yeah.
And when we shot, we did a practice scene. Idris Elba had a stunt double, and then he ended up coming to do the scene. And one of the directors pulled me aside and said, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "I'm good." He said, Okay. You know, would you consider, you know, cutting your hair a little short? I said, "Why? We can't have you and Idris in the same shot because you guys got the same hair, you know." And
yeah, you did too.
I was like, "You mother." I know where this is going.
Yeah.
And then Mon Lewis. Yeah. She was one of the, you know, casting and directors. She asked me, she said, "Hey, would you cut your hair?" I said, "Mon, you better get out of my face." And then Bud Hopes asked me, "Would you cut your hair?" I said, "Hey, tell Idris to cut his hair." You know what I mean? And then, they couldn't have me in the same scene as him. And then one thing led to another. They said, "Oh, you know, we can still put you as an extra." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Yeah. You know, I wasn't bitter about it. Yeah. And then we met, and, you know, I met a whole bunch of people on there, and, you know, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome to get the bit part though, right?
Man,
like, I mean,
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I bet you think back on that going, should I have, you know?
Yeah.
But what, I mean, for you, like that takes a long time to grow the hair and get the dreads pumping. Yeah. And I'm sure it'll take you a lot to, you know, you best believe I got a good roll if I'm cutting these off. Like, so that must have been a decision, or was it never a decision really?
It wasn't a decision, mate.
I
made that decision before getting in the industry.
Yeah.
It's a non-negotiable for me, you know, and it comes back to that thing where I was talking about, when you've got self-conversations instilled, you know, my self-worth is that's one of them. Yeah. You know, I hold value with my hair. It's me. You know, this is something that I make myself to be.
Part of your identity.
Part of my identity, part of my movement, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? Because there's a time, and that's why I asked you about the extra thing before, because there is a time where you go as an artist, and a lot of people will make this decision when they're probably not at the point of making the decision. I'm trying to, there's a lot of different personalities in this industry, and people get a big head and think that they're a lot bigger than what they are. Yeah. And they make that decision very early on, and you don't see them do anything again. You got to know your place, I guess, like you say, know your worth. But there does come a time when you're like, you know, after doing a lot of extra work and stuff like that. I mean, this is the thing, like that was a fantastic opportunity, great environment, like awesome. So you're kind of chasing that dragon sometimes,
Yeah,
you know? Like,
there it
I
is.
couldn't get
Yeah.
over every day that I walked in there. I was pinching myself going, I'm going into Warner Brothers Studios on this, you know, Marvel film with awesome people. Like, you couldn't get the smile off your face. Like, because I remember, dude, I was actually down there for camera tests once. Like, Manon got me in there for that.
Right.
And so we were, as Guardians, obviously, on it. And so me and Pearl, do you remember Pearl?
Yeah, absolutely.
So her and I were doing that. And so like barely, it's before it started, you know, pre-production's going on. The test, it was the first day Taika Waititi was on set and seeing the camera test. And so I'm in my golf buggy, you know, which you don't always get that, obviously. And they're driving me to the soundstage. And then they, hold on. Sorry, guys, we just had to stop that. I don't know when. I think that just cut. But I think we're good now. We're good.
Yeah.
And sorry, that warning has never come up. What was I talking? Oh, yeah, okay. Hopefully, I think it only just cut out. I only heard it for a split second there.
I think I saw it from my
it just turned on, and I was like, oh shit, that warning sign it's a new Mac, and I've only, you know, I'm just still. There's a lot of things that have upgraded since the old school 2013 model that I had. And it's just things coming up. I freak out. I'm like, oh no, is it recording? Man, it took me years to get that out of my, like, I'm having a small conniption while I'm like on the podcast talking to someone. I'm going, God, I hope it's recording.
I hope we got this.
Oh shit, I hope the camera's still going. You know, it's nothing worse. So that's why I got it there so I can keep an eye on it. But it's just like, you know, like you think you have it all set up, like we were saying before the pod, and then you're like, oh no, what just happened? Like, you know, now I've got to redo everything or whatever. Okay, back to that. Sorry, golf cart. So going to the studio, and then I jump off the golf cart. They're like, oh yeah, the sound stage is just up there, you know, just off the left. And I'm walking along, and I've said this on the podcast before, guys, so I'm sorry for those who've heard it before. But anyway, I'm walking along, and I like see this figure coming towards me, you know, and I'm like, oh, geez, this is a presence here, eh? Like, you know, coming towards, and then you just get up, you're like, oh shit, there's Chris Hemsworth, you know? And so it's just funny because it's like, I call it my Chris Hemsworth moment, you know, but it's just like, you know, when you're walking and you lock energies with someone and you don't even say anything, but it's just like we're walking past each other, and he just sort of like, you know, like I drew his attention a little bit. I'm like, this is fucking Chris Hemsworth, you know? And it's just like, and we're just in each other's energy for a moment and just both simultaneously like, what's up, you know? Like, and just like, he's just like, I see you, man. Like, kind of, that's the vibe that I got off it. But I was just like, oh shit, you know, like, and
there it is.
Yeah, great moment. And it's just, it's a funny thing we talk about validation, but it's just a little, you're like, I'm on my path. Like, I'm doing the right things, you know? I'm getting this feeling when I'm coming here on the set. This happens, you know, and then that just set up the whole thing for like obviously an amazing time with everybody. And so, it's just a cool thing, you know, like, and obviously you've been on sets with, you know, like you were on those sets and you get pretty close and personal with them and they talk to you sometimes, you know, whether that, you know, you're not supposed to talk to them obviously, but if they talk to you, then you obviously you're going to respond. But it's like, even Idris, he was awesome right on set. Like,
Idris, Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, she was cool. Yeah. And just the vibe of all those guys and, Taika as well. You're like, man, I think this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And it was great. And it was so well received. And I mean, it got him some more movies going after that. Cause I mean, I think they'd already done like 2 or 3 before that.
Yeah. That was the third, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the third. Yeah. So, and then, obviously they did another one and whether they do another one again. I mean, it definitely wasn't, the last one wasn't quite, Love and Thunder wasn't quite as good as Ragnarok, but it was still pretty good in its own right, you know, like I'll say of that. But it's hard once you go that comedic route and do those things. It's really hard to do that again and keep going with it. But I mean, we did all that. I'm sorry, we're bouncing around. But that's good. That's good. And that's what this pod's all about is if people know that, listen and watch it. But man, so you're doing that. I mean, so what is it for you? I mean, obviously you went from the rugby league and you had some, the sporting career and what you held as top priority in that regard. And then you obviously had to recalibrate and you went into the performing industry and stuff. So, I mean, where are you at now? Because obviously you can see things on social media, as we all know, and people can put a persona on of this and that and whatever else. I knew you personally. I knew this was genuine, and that's what I gravitate towards it because you can see through the fake, you know, like of people and what they're trying to do, and you know the motivational quotes and all this. But I'm like, this is the real guy. This is. I know that's you doing it, and that's why evokes that feeling within me, and I'm like, I got to get off my ass, man. Like, so what is it for you now? Like, what's your core belief structure within yourself, without giving away obviously too much of what you don't want to, get the people to come to you for? But yeah, what's the firm belief structure in you that you're kind of like applying to yourself and everything that you're going for now?
Right. So for me, I start my day at 3 a.m. So I get up at 3 a.m. I do my prayer and meditation, and then I sit with myself for a while and set myself up for the day. Ultimately, I check in with myself, where my values are, my self-worth, knowing my boundaries, and I work backwards. So I start with boundaries. At 8:30, I don't take any more phone calls.
Yeah.
That's a non-negotiable. My self-worth, when it comes to, negotiating prices, et cetera, we don't negotiate. This is what I do and this is what it is, and then take it or leave it. So really revisiting those conversations and making them fresh so that when the day comes and it presents itself, I'm not caught on my back foot.
Yeah.
And I think for someone like myself, it's really important because I'm always around people. And you can easily get lost in the world when there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah.
That's, so my 3 a.m. wake-ups, self-preparation, and then first client at 5 a.m., 5:30. Yeah.
First client for your mindset coaching or for your personal
For PT.
training? Yeah.
Mindset coaching classes. Clients are usually during the day.
Yeah.
So anytime after 9. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're getting into it and you've got you're doing your personal training stuff. And then, so is that going through the day kind of thing? Or, I mean, obviously clients are at different times.
Yeah.
And things like
Clients
that.
different times. Yeah. And then I'll get my bookings for my coaching. So I've got a few clients in my books that I sit with, once a fortnight.
Yeah.
And we just revisit what's the game plan, how are we moving forward, what's your desired outcome, what are your values, all these big words we throw around.
Yeah.
And how your life is in comparison to your values and ethics and all those big words.
And what you can do to sort of make that better or more real for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So bringing clarity.
Yeah. It's a big thing. Hey, like checking in with yourself, and that's something that I like when you're first in the industry and you've got that momentum like within yourself and you're like, just like, let's go. Can't wait to get on set again, and this is just me personally speaking. I mean, I think other people are like that too, but this is just from my experience. It's like, that gets going and you have that go attitude.
Right.
And especially when you're young, you're like, I got to do this now. Like I'm going to be a heartthrob star, or what, whatever it is. And you're like, the time is now. And I remember telling myself that for so long, which is great for work ethic because it puts you in a place to keep pushing yourself. But at some point, the house of cards is going to come over. And then what are you left with? And that's what I think I found. And then I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what I was doing before was okay, but I was never in the right place mentally, physically, just the mindset to do the best work that I could do. And it wasn't until I started doing the Eric Morris technique.
Hello.
So you know that one, with Charles Allen from the factory. I think you did a bit of training there, right? Yeah. Did you do anything with Charles or not?
No.
Yeah.
No, just on the sidelines. But Charles lives next door, but yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he was great dude. And then I was like, oh, okay. Out of the technique, you take bits and pieces of things. Some people are really married to the certain techniques or whatever. There's no fine science or whatever to it, but all of them kind of draw from the same one, but they have their own variation of it all, I guess, without going way into that. Yeah. But I was like, oh, okay, for so long and before we started doing anything, we're doing the sensitize within yourself, basically meditation.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is, you think, oh, this is pointless. Because people said meditation to me for years. And I'm like, I can't stop this from going all the time. The only time I can stop sometimes is when I'm sleeping, and even that's hard to do because everything else, the noise around you isn't there anymore. And then so the thoughts start coming in and there's even more of the marination and the creativity. And sometimes you just got to get that down, and strike. But I was like, oh, okay. The noise within the self and you're putting the exterior noise out, but there's still a lot of noise within yourself that you have to figure out a way to calm down or use and utilize to put it into what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And that was a huge penny drop moment, for me. And then going, oh, okay. So I do have those other things within me. I just got to figure out how to tap into it.
It is.
And then once you're in a good place, you got yourself in a working moldable situation, I would say, like within yourself, then you can actually do the work,
there
right?
You go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which is kind of a fundamental thing with his technique and that. But yeah, so that was a great thing to learn. And obviously, like that just doesn't go just for the arts. That just goes for life,
Absolutely,
right? Because
universal.
all of us are pushing towards something and we've got bills and kids to worry about or whatever. I don't have kids to worry about, but whatever, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got their thing and they're constantly pushing and moving it. And like, you're like, what am I even moving towards? Like, what am I doing with this? Because you get stuck in it, right? Like it's the rat race of the whole thing. And just constantly grinding to pay the bills and do this. And you're like, man, where do I leave myself in all this? That's why that self-reflection and self-time is very important, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, it's kind of fun. It sounds like it's a fundamental thing for you and for what you're trying to teach.
Absolutely. It is. It's a fundamental that you soon realize it's a necessity.
A necessity. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So, I mean, do you do work with your brother on all this, or has he got it kind of down? Like, I mean, obviously he's doing well, so he must.
I'll probably learn from him. But we have conversations, and he comes to my workshops. Yeah. So which is good. Yeah. I don't know whether it's to show support or he believes in it, but either or, it's always an honor to have him in the building. And So. Yeah.
And those conversations, I think that says it in itself, right? Yeah. Like you have those conversations with him. That's another person to bounce off. That's like chasing similar things to you are, right? So that's really good. Yeah. No, it's awesome to see that. Like he's having success, and you're finding different pathways to put your energy into.
Amen.
It's a great thing.
Amen. Yeah.
So I mean, what do you hope to try and achieve then through the performance? Is it something for yourself, or do you because we all do it for different reasons, right? Just to put it in a nutshell, it's like connecting with people on a large scale, I love this connecting, but it's like if you can do this and put it out so people listen to it, get something from it, like that's the thing, for me. So you can do it in different art forms. So what is it for you that's the main driver
for performing arts?
Performing arts. And
for me it's that the continuity, the continuing of unraveling, for example, just doing Animal Farm, the character explorations I went through I played Boxer, the horse, and, I wasn't a horse, but we physicalized being a horse, the chest out and whatnot, but we still had to tell the story. And along going on the journey for character breakdown and, backstory and all this, I learned more about myself and I learned more about the world. And that's what acting is for me. It's a gateway to the rest of the world, through meeting people, through doing, back history on stories that you're involved in, character explorations, all these things, they give me a reason to explore beyond myself and my experiences, whereas when I'm a mindset coach, we're exploring circumstances, and acting is exploring the world. So the end goal, I don't think there is an end goal for that. As Anthony Hopkins says, you can be an actor at 99 years old, and still learn. It never ends. You're always learning something. Tomorrow I could be on set on a play about anything, and I'll learn something new, and that's what I love. I love, whoa, we're in another world now.
Yeah. And constantly growing, right?
Constantly growing.
The growth within
that.
Yeah.
Once you realize that there is no end game to growth, it's a beautiful journey, and that's when you can be humble enough, I say that, kindly, to play the extra roles, and you start to see that as it's not a grading, being an extra is part of the bigger picture, and so that's what's up.
I mean, it's getting those experiences, isn't it? Living those experiences,
absolutely.
Meeting the people, doing the thing. You're still doing what you love, and it's on a large scale, but it's like you're just, you're doing more of the minor stuff, without lack of a better word right now.
I'm hearing you. Yeah.
But it is what you make of it, right? Yeah. Like any situation you get in with life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's what you take in. I mean, there's so much to see and learn on those sets. Yep. Like, let's face it, no matter who you are, you get there. I mean, some people are idiots, but you get like, you're like, you don't want to do anything wrong or like trip over a wire or something, there's stuff everywhere. And you're like, oh my God, if I break, if I make this, everyone's going to have to stop what's happening, which we've all seen that happen or done things ourselves. I do remember one that happened on Ragnarok. I don't know if you were there or not. Do you remember when we're escaping Asgard, when it's all, everything's, and we had to get on that little ship to get away.
Oh, yes.
And you know where that guy got knocked out that time and they had to stop production? Hey, so remember when we're getting on that ship and they got there's a little situation where they've got the camera on a dolly going past the entrance and we all had to rush into that ship and squash in. I don't know if you... I
was probably on a different...
maybe. Yeah. I don't know if you're there or not, but and they had that, how we had the capes and we had the layers upon layers. God. And then, so Tyker's actually doing the camera work on this one, I think, and or he was on the trolley as well, on the dolly that they were doing, and I'm the last one to get on the ship. And I'm having to, was doing it perfect. All the other times, just get, I had to rush past camera, so it kind of had that cut, so they could cut to whatever. That's what they wanted. And I was the last one to go through by camera, and I had to cross camera or whatever. And this one thing, one of the last takes of the day, he's dollying in. For those who don't know, it's basically the camera on wheels. And they're going through, and I got through just past camera, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? And my cape got stuck under the wheel with the dolly and just pulled me back. And I just acted through it, and I just got caught, and then I just fell into the crowd of everyone, and then they had to stop. I'm like, God damn it, man. Everyone pissed themselves. Even then he was laughing, but I was like, oh man, it was the last take to get whatever we had to do. And of course it's me and I do it perfect every other time. And then we get to this point, I'm like, God damn it. Sorry, brother. Not letting down my fellow Kiwi on this his biggest director thing that he's done. And it was just funny. But you wanted to do well for him. And that's the importance of a good leader, of a good director as well, is that you wanted to do well for him, and for the whole thing, even though anyway, but he without lack of a better word, demanded that kind of respect and that output from you.
No, legendary.
Legendary. Special thing, eh? Special ability to have that. No, it's good. But so you're constantly growing, you're constantly just developing and doing your thing, and just rolling with that. Is there certain things that you want to do personally in the industry? Characters you want to play, or things that you would like to push outside the envelope, and find within yourself?
Definitely. The few things that I've started writing a film. Like you, it started off as short, but it's slowly making its way to become a feature. And I really like what you said before. It resonates that you don't want to make it a short. I feel it has to be a feature.
Short.
Exactly. And that's why I was listening when you were saying before. I thought, I needed to hear that. And so, so I want to tell a story with that film that I've written. The characters that I'd like to play, more vulnerable characters. I feel I'm always typecasted into, physicality. Exactly. I want to go there.
Peel the layers off.
Peel the layers off. You know what I mean?
And see what you can do with it.
I forgot his name. The guy off Green Mile. Rest in peace.
God, now I know who you mean.
My name is John Coffey.
John. I was going to say Coffey, and I'm like, no, this character's name. It sucks, when they're so iconic to that role, and that's what you tie them to.
Exactly.
God damn, I can't think of it either, but he's amazing.
When seeing him being vulnerable on screen, you're just like, well.
He's standing there and the tears going down. And he's frightening, for the most part. And then you're like, oh, he's so sweet.
You know what I mean?
You're like,
exactly.
Oh. Yeah, that was iconic, wasn't it? Was it Hanks? Tom Hanks in that? No.
Tom Hanks,
that's right. Yeah, that was a phenomenal movie. I haven't seen that film. I haven't seen that in a long time, actually. Wow. Yeah. So okay, that's what. So it's the exploration, right?
Absolutely.
Within oneself and what you're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's probably why the arts are so attractive to you, right?
Go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, because that's a place where you feel safe to do that sort of work, right? Amen. It's like when
Yeah.
you got to be masculine and like
Yeah.
in your energy or whatever when you're walking. You don't have to be, but you feel
Yeah.
like you have to be as a male, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Yeah.
the times and where society sets you up to be.
Absolutely.
That you want to be the strong guy that whatever attracts whatever mate or these people around you, you know, and then it's like, well, there's so much more to me than just that perception from people that have on you, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Yeah, I find that I find that with people too. I'm just like, and people judge you, you know, and you're like, you know, oh, you're a player or what, you know, whatever it is, and it's just like, no, I'm actually not.
Yeah.
Like I've got so much more with that.
Exactly.
That's not actually my fundamental drive at all.
Yeah.
Like of anything, but it's funny that that's what they say. And it's kind of irritating sometimes. You're like, I'm like, you couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm still finding a lot of things out about myself, you know, because I'm constantly growing, which I think is the human, you know, it's the human journey, right? And it's just, but it's just like, you're like, okay, whatever. You're one of them that just has to put a label on everything so you understand it better.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't really understand probably yourself. That's what you're reflecting on me.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just funny when you kind of see those. And that happens all the time, right?
Absolutely.
It could be a passing comment or it could be a full-on argument or conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I encourage people to get philosophical about life. You know, one of the biggest mistakes we can make in life that hinders our growth is to put definition on things. Because when you define something, obviously we do it for the sake of our understanding. It brings comfort and safety, you know, when you're able to label. And when you get philosophical, what it does, it takes you beyond your understanding. And a lot of people don't like to be in that arena. You know, so for example, if you demonstrate yourself to be some sort of character, it's easier for me to label you. That way you're done. This is who you are and I will treat you accordingly. Yeah. It makes it easier for me to become a character, you know, that reflects or, you know, exercises a form of expression to you. But if I was to get philosophical, I'd have to look past your actions, past the, you know, your disturbance and stuff like that. Yeah. And then, so get philosophical about life, man. Yeah. You know, it
is, it's a learning thing though, isn't it? Within all that, like the philosophical nature that you learn, like, because you see like you're narrow-minded and got the blinders on, like when you're young, you think, oh, it's just all about whatever that is, you know, like hanging out with your friends and whatever, you know, partying or whatever happens. And you're like, oh man, I just not really getting what I want from this anymore.
There it is.
So what do I want from that?
Yeah.
And how can I obtain it? Yeah. And what is that I'm thinking of now? And that's the growth, right?
Yeah,
like, I think in relationships and all things like that, it's just like you get to a point of just, you know, relationships, for example, it's like, oh, you know, the one night stands or whatever, you know, and this and whatever else. And then you're like, I don't feel good about this. Like, I want something more than this, you know, like it's, and it's that constant growth thing. Eh? So it just seems like you want to go through, you just want to live life and enjoy it. You want to grow and just keep seeing where you can take this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What you can achieve and hopefully you're satisfied along the way, right?
And that's important, you know, to take time to feel the satisfaction. You know, it's not always, like as much as growth is a significant part of life, but when growth takes place and you recognize it, it's important to stop and go, this is nice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this moment here.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about me trying to get out and get known through podcasts. It's about, you know, a mate that's reached out and said, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And we met through these circumstances, you know.
Yeah. And then it can grow and be something different organically down the track.
There you go.
Yeah. It's hard to enjoy the moments. That's what I mean of that mindset when I was originally of the go all the time and just keep going. And like people will say things to me, like, you know, something that's happened and like I have fairly good memory, but some stuff I'm just terrible, you know, like I won't remember, like, because I've just moved past it. And then they'll say something and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was pretty wild, eh? Like, they're like, remember when you did this? And I'm like, oh, no. But yes, now I remember that was cool. Yeah. It's like, why did I forget that, eh? Because you get so stuck in the momentum of things, which isn't bad. Yeah. Because momentum is important and it's something to tap into and keep moving forward with it. But taking the time to reflect upon what you've done and what you've accomplished. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do though.
It is.
When you're like a very self-motivated person to succeed.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there things that you like just having that? I mean, you've got that process, don't you? Of like, you get up early. I would say early. I'm not a morning person like that. When you say 3 a.m., I go, they're the hours where I'm actually getting a REM sleep, man. But clearly you go to bed earlier and you have the earlier wake up, right?
Yeah.
And Bobby is actually Bobby Taylor, who, when I was talking to him about a lot of this, like he's very in this thing of like, optimization, like within oneself, right? And so I can see why you guys probably connect. Although, once again, he was on Thor Ragnarok, and that's where I met him. I don't know about you as well. Yeah. And it's just like he's very in that and the waking up early and all that sort of thing, eh? But it's geez, I don't even know where I was going with that. I had something, and then I started talking about Bobby, and I got sidetracked.
You were going to ask, do I take moments to?
Oh yes, basically, yeah. Like, so how like I know you take the moments in the morning for reflection and stuff like that, but I mean, how else do you? Yeah, do you stay like? How do you stay motivated to obviously wanting to succeed, and then how do you reflect for you, like to understand your journey and where you've come from, and be satisfied at some of the other things you achieved while still staying motivated to push further? Like what is it for you?
That's a great question. I first and foremost want to give full appreciation to my surroundings, the people along the way. This is not a single person journey. The journey that I'm on. This is my 6th year sober. And for me, my road to sobriety, my girlfriend at the time, she stuck by me and helped me and guided me, and as I started to transform myself, and my actions and my commitments and how I, showed up for myself, I noticed my environment started to change as well. And with each new environment, new people came. And those people demonstrated themselves towards me that allowed me to sort of, be reflected in who I was. People showing appreciation for me, or, it's very important to tell people what you think of them. Give the flowers while they're still here, as they say.
Yeah.
But, I'm very lucky to have a network of people that, sort of give me my flowers while I'm here. And that's what gives me the motivation, because I feel like now I don't want to let them down as well, because if I make it, we all make it, and I've got that. I'm very big on community, so, so a lot of my motivation it's selfless, as awesome as it is to get up at 3 a.m. and be motivated. And what I do like to build is a community, and Zembition is that community, and that's why I created that. So that's where most of the motivation comes from. And, we've got some goals that we're working on currently, building a school in Malawi. That's where I'm from, and, things like that. That keeps you going.
Yeah. So that's your way of like giving back to
absolutely
as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel that giving back to life for what life has given me, what I mean? And I think that's the greatest honor. Yeah. If you will.
Leaving the world or your environment in a better place than where you came into it.
LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's important things, right? That community, it is huge. Yeah. Because you boost, like you say, when I don't make it, we all make it, it's just, it's so vital, isn't it? Like, and you understand it when you have it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, even growing up for me, it's like, like you rag on each other as your friends and stuff like that, which is great in its own right. It helps you to be, I would say, quick-witted and things like that with the comebacks, and just like you're terrible to each other. But it's like, how many times do you like get praise out of that? Like not really, but like the people got love for you, in a weird way of showing it, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I didn't know the praise from people, like how that can be great. I mean, geez, it could have like be why I gravitated towards this on other avenues as well, is when you got into this industry and people start like telling you you're doing a good job, or like you were great in that, or you did like cool this, and I love what you're doing with that, or what you're like, man, I've never heard this kind of praise before. Like really,
wow.
Don't
how do you take it?
See, it's weird. Right. I never used to be good with compliments. I'd get embarrassed, man. I'd be like, I'll reflect a compliment back. How that's the easy one to do, rather than sit in it. Which I still think is great and important to do. And I know the people that give the compliments probably aren't searching for that, but it's like, give props where props are due.
Absolutely.
And but it's just so like, it's so important. Like I that's what one of the things that I really love about the industry and that keeps you there is that that there is that to and fro of the praise within one and building each other up rather than tearing them down, because you know there's a very competitive industry as well. Indeed. And you're competing often with your friends and other people that you've met for these roles, and it's life-changing for you to get them. Yeah. So you want them, but it's like, it's a weird thing, right? Yeah. And it's just like, but you're happy for your friends or people that you know when you get like, God damn it, I wanted that. But man, I'm if it could have been anyone else, that's awesome that it's you. Yeah, because dude, that's great. And that's awesome. And I love that you got, once you come out of the want of the whole thing and the desire. But yeah, that praise, because you don't get it all the time, right? I don't know, was it there a lot in the footy circles? Like, because I know, like, the good players, some of them are very ego driven, right? And you got to be sometimes to succeed in those highly competitive environments. Yeah. And I did a whole host of sports growing up as well. So I know what it, but you see it all, right? Yeah. And it's the same, you still see the same faces or the same masks in the acting industry too, to a certain extent. It's everywhere in all industries. Yep. Once you see those masks, you're like, it's in business. You see the managers or whatever, and I'm like, I know how to work this situation. Yeah. I've seen you before. This is just a different, a different alliteration of what it was that I saw before in a past life or what have you, you know? Yeah. It's an interesting thing, but it's definitely like it's such an awesome part of this industry. But there's also people that are very conniving behind your back though as well. Amen. And so it's like, did you find that a lot in the sports industry then? Like,
well, I mean, and you're right. The sports industry, there is a high level of ego drive that you got to have. Yeah, you know what I mean. And there's not enough pats on the back. The only time you get pats on the back and the round of applause is when you're performing.
When you succeed.
You know, but no one's there to man, hang in there. How's your diet? Can we help? It's just, it's nah. So that's why you tend to find when people climb the chain and then the lights go out, it's game over. You know, and that's where that loss of identity comes, because, there wasn't much feedback on the way up and it's dark on the way down. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is a thing. And that's where those bad, like you see these guys that used to be like, just hypothetical, NRL star, and then all of a sudden they're caught up in these drug rings and you're like, what? Yeah. Like, how did that even, I mean, he was beloved, but you just don't know what's going on in the background, like anyway, like what they're walking, you don't know what they're walking through on a day-to-day thing. All you're seeing is that guy that gets the ball, that runs hard, and goes through the line and scores a try. Like,
that's on the money.
Yeah, everyone's on a hard path. Like, it's like, it may seem easy from the outside looking in, but you have no idea, what someone's going through.
Amen.
I mean, have you found that at all through, like, maybe someone that's come to you for the mindset coaching, or even just friends that have just been, dark place more than just wanting to grow, like, and that you've had to help? That must be a really tricky one.
It is. If I go back a couple of steps, I started off as a personal trainer, and I found that I was doing more therapy than PTing. Yeah. So I went and started doing some mini courses.
Part of it, right?
No one told me that until it started getting heavier and heavier, and my client base started climbing because of that. Yeah. And so, again, I went, did my first aid, mental health certificates, et cetera, just to sort of upskill myself in conversations for mental health. Yeah. And then as I've made my transition to becoming a mindset coach, now, my mindset coach is not a psychotherapist, completely different realms. Yeah. A mindset coach is more strategic in their approach to, towards your desired outcome, goal setting, etc. Psychotherapy sort of is, I want to say remedy, but I can't think of a word right now. But this, they're there to help you resolve the circumstance. Yeah. And so me being a mindset coach, I found that most of my clients have come from the psychotherapy programs. And so now I've taken it into my own hands to do my degree in counselling. So I'll be a qualified counsellor by the end of hopefully this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So onwards and upwards, yeah.
I can see how people would gravitate towards you through like a lot of that early on as well. Yeah. Like, if you go to the conversation, like, oh, I like this guy, I'm going to come back, I'll train with him again. You know? Some people probably, might not even like, they hate the training part because it's so grueling. I can see that, man. I can definitely see it. And it is very interesting, because I wonder, sometimes, and I'm like, not to knock the profession. I mean, I love training and all the rest of it, but like I haven't really, like I had a trainer for like a very brief period. They would set up when I first started sort of training in the gym over here. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of got that. I'm a bit of a tight ass too. So I was like forking that money out. I'm like, I don't know how people are doing this because I don't need the motivation to be here. I'm already good at self-motivating myself and getting after it, you know, like that's half of what you see a personal trainer is for these people as well that do pay for it. And I'm not mocking anyone. I think it's fantastic that anyone's getting after it because once I started training in the gym, I'm like, oh, this is like a way of life now. Like I just see the clarity that I'm getting mentally is probably, it's far more outweighs the physical actually, to be honest, for me. And then I didn't know that going in. And then when I found that, I'm just like, oh, the confidence within yourself after that. And then, oh, you look good too. It's just like, let's go. Like it's just got all these benefits, you know. You got to put hard work in and a bit of determination and dedication and sometimes stopping yourself from eating certain things, which is a tough thing.
Absolutely.
It's discipline, that discipline to achieve the results that you want to, which you can put to all facets of life, obviously. But I used to be like, oh, I don't know how people are paying like this, you know, whatever. Like they're training 3 times a week with a trainer or maybe it's more and they're paying 60 plus, you know, 100, you know, for a session. I'm like, how are people doing? But then I'm like, oh, okay, they need this motivation. And also, they also have that person to talk to and bounce off.
That's what
and
it comes down to. 98% of the time. You're the other person. You know, one thing I learned early in the industry is a lot of people have a great fear of walking into gyms. It's overwhelming.
Can be intimidating.
It's very intimidating, you know, and I tend, when you're in the industry long enough, you forget that. And so that's one. 2, you know, people just got high levels of insecurity, you know. And 3, obviously, it's lack of knowledge, you know, and that's one thing I pride myself on as a PT is I tell my clients, you're not with me forever. Whilst we're together, we're going to build your confidence, but at some point you're going to have to fly off. You know what I mean? And that's, if you don't agree with that now, there's no point in me starting.
That's a great mentality to have though, Because I mean, how many people want to farm more clients and just keep them around for as long as they can? Because I mean, I've seen quite a few things, you know, and like I only started like maybe a little bit when I was first starting and didn't know what the hell I was doing in New Zealand, you know, but once I moved over here, I just kind of started going and never stopped. And it's just like when you, God, what was I about to? Oh, yeah. Like you see a lot of things, you know, in the gym and the different trainers and the way they work and how they go with their clients. And like, man, I see people like, you know, they're loading up like the weights for the person and they're putting more and more on, but you're like, there's no way that guy's lifting that. Like, and it's jazzing that little bit of an ego and they're kind of like spotting and lifting the weights for him. And I'm like, how much are you taking off that? Like I'm like, respect, you know, because people are sometimes unassumingly very strong too. Like, and you know, you can see a little fit and the dude's like lifting way more than you. You're like, I got to do something different here. This is embarrassing. Or go and train over there. Like, it's just, people are strong. They're just deceptively strong. Like sometimes in the legs or up, whatever it is, you know. And you're like, they got toothpicks, but they're like, Jesus, where's that strength coming from, you know? It's godly. Like, you know, you got the Viking genes or whatever. But and then you see people do these little things to keep them around. And it's just like, oh man, you feel a bit bad about it sometimes. You're like, oh, dude, do you really think you should be lifting that? Yeah. I've worked up to it. Okay. Do you ever try to lift it without someone spotting you like that? Like,
I've actually reached the point of calling it out now. Again, it's that, you know, integrity. Integrity is something that I'm building up within myself. You know, the integration between your word and your actions and vice versa. And if I see injustice, I have to speak out. You know, even if it's deemed as disrespectful. So, a perfect example. 2 weeks ago, I was flying out to Sydney to go watch my beloved Bulldogs play and get flogged. But
oh, bro, we killed you last week. Sorry, I had to get that. I love the Bulldogs too. I used to. Yeah. They've been one of my teams that I have supported about the Warriors all day.
I know, man.
Yeah. Wow, they're having it tough. a little bit for the last few seasons. Although there's a promise in there, there's talent in there.
I've been hearing that since 2002.
Dude, try being a Warriors supporter. Try being a Warriors supporter, man. Oh, God.
It'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Dude, we're looking good this year. I like what I'm seeing, man. I love this new coach, this new culture, this new resilience. That word's been used at nausea. But yeah, no, it's you can see, and I mean, in all honesty, in that game, we had a great first half.
Yeah.
Almost perfect first half. But we let the foot off the throat a bit in the second half, and we let the Bulldogs weren't going to go away. They're an NRL team for a reason. And that, you know, that if there was a team a bit better on form at the moment, we could have lost that game. Exactly. And we've lost games like that before. Yeah. So I was a little bit worried. I saw that seep in, but we still held in there and got away with it. And a resilient Bulldog are they're not gonna go away. Like, they're gonna keep coming.
That's the dog of war.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so what you went and saw? Oh, so you went and watched that game?
Oh yeah, because I've got a friend who's a corporate sponsor. Yeah, so you usually fly down and watch the games there. And that's not to name drop. I was just I'm a big fan, so every opportunity I get.
Yeah, for sure.
So on the way there, I stopped in at Chermside Good Life to do a workout, and my brother dropped me off, and he was taking me to the airport. And I was watching a PT, work with their client, and form was whack. Their knees were, this was a squat rack. Their knees were bending in, heels were coming off the ground during the squats. That's excessive loading.
Yeah.
And I watched the first set, I watched the second set. And on the second set, I noticed the coach had the phone in the hand and was, I don't know whether she was filming or
texting or something.
Yeah. But and then I sort of, did my little shivity, moved around, and I realized she was on the text. So my brain snapped.
Just not even watching.
No. Yeah. So just before she started the third set, I walked over and I said, hey, listen, I have to tell you this, and I'm sorry if you find this very disrespectful and intruding, but I'm a coach. I've been a coach for 15 years. I run gyms. I know what I'm talking about, what I'm about to tell you. Your knees bend in and your heels lift off the ground. What you're doing is excessively loading on your knees, and your lower back is in great danger.
Yeah.
You keep this up, you're not going to be here for very long.
It's going to hurt. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I looked at the trainer. I said, I'm very disappointed in you. You know the one rule is full attention on the client. Nothing in your hands. Whether you're filming your client, get yourself a tripod. Yeah. Be in the video with the client. You know that rule. Like, every school teaches you that now. And I've looked at all the curriculums. That's the up-to-date rule. No coffees in the hand, nothing.
Yeah.
And, I just walked away. And I knew that the PT would have had the shits.
Would have been hating
Absolutely.
It. Yeah.
But for me, I wanted that client to know that someone cares.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, because they'll probably just go, great job,
fantastic.
Just taking the money,
You're 1RM next week, baby, you're gone. No, not on my watch, So.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, that's like the fundamental movements too with the squatting
Absolutely.
as well, to be on your heels, obviously. And
Absolutely.
You're using the right muscles, but nothing. I mean, you do a lower back and,
thanks for coming. Never
probably be in the gym again the same, that's for sure.
Exactly.
It's hard, Injuries, man, what a beast to come back from sometimes when you don't. And if you have that mindset of go once again, it's so hard to tell yourself to stop, and you got to recover, or you're not going to be doing it again in 6 months, but you just want to get in there a month down the track.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
It is, man.
Like, I couldn't even, I did bursitis in my shoulder, doing dips. Yeah, well, that's when it went.
Yeah.
But it was obviously probably a progression, like, kind of thing. Yeah. But man, and it's just like, you go to these physios too that are like high rated and supposed to be really good, and you're telling them that what you should be doing. I'm like, what are we doing here? He's like, you seem to know what you're doing. Just do that. Yeah, you can push that. Like, I'm just like, righto. But it's so, I mean, there's so much education out there now, and good people that know what they're talking about, how to fix certain things up. But that was hard. Like, it was so hard to even walk in the gym because I didn't want to even look at anything up, but like, I couldn't look at anything up body because I get pissed.
Yeah.
And then I want to lift it or do it or do something. Yeah. And you feel like you're not doing enough. And, oh man, it's just such a hard mentality to get out of,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a beast, man. It's such a beast. But I always go, like, you say that about gym environment. It is a huge thing, Like, I got so comfortable. Like, I was doing a YMCA in Bowen Hills. Right. I was there since it got built.
Yeah,
I was the OG,
great
one of the OGs, man.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cheap and it was good. I knew everybody, which is sometimes not great either because everyone's trying to talk. The amount of times I walk around with my headphones in and they weren't even playing, just so no one would talk to me.
That's the one.
Oh, and you're in a shitty mood too, and you're like, "This, I'm here to clear this. Like, just don't talk to me right now. I need to just do this thing because, like, you know, you get put off and you do a wrong movement, and there goes an injury too. Once again, with not concentrating. But I think I got so comfortable there, and I recently I changed gyms. You know, so I go to the Fitness Cartel in Aspley.
Oh, nice.
Now, so I just joined that, and it's like it's across the road from where I'm working. Like, well, I have been working for quite a while. So it was one of those things. My car stuffed out and I couldn't go, you know, and I was like, I need to keep training. I need to keep training. I was like, I've wanted to change for a while, and I knew I needed to switch that mentality because I was getting bored and I wasn't enjoying it as much. And then, you know, that's when I was doing my own training as well. And then I got my guy, which I don't know if do you know Sasha Dulich? He was in Western Culture.
So
he's by
Russian.
No, he's Jesus. What now? I'm blank. Jesus Christ.
Big dude, eh?
No, that's Victor. That's Victor. He's French. French. Yeah. That's the Sasha. God, I'm totally blanking on where his mum's from. I want to say Czech, but I could be wrong. Anyway, he's you might, I don't know if you know him or not. Like he does, you know, like a bit of acting, but he was on that anyway. You'll see when you actually see it. So he's one of my best mates that I met on that Agrippina show. That I'm talking about. I met him and another guy, Andrew, who's in that film as well. Andrew Fraser.
And I know Andrew Fraser.
So he's a mate of mine as well. Good mate of mine. And and so like a lot of those guys that got cast in that was like all people that I got through Alpha and Show Jeremy, or the films that we've been doing together. Like there's so much of that cast are like people that I introduced them to. So he would have found them anyway, but and it's fucking awesome to see them get that opportunity too. Like to work with him because I love what, you know, he's awesome to work with. But which is really cool. You know, it's that giving back thing once again, you know, like that community and all that. Like, it's awesome to see them getting it. And I'm watching, I'm like, this is great. Like, you know, like, I'm like, I know them, but you take yourself out of it because you want to enjoy the film, obviously, as well. And when they give great performances, that does it for yourself anyway. But like changing that gym environment was just exponential. I needed to get myself out of that funk, you know, because I knew I was sitting in the comfortability of everything for too long. And it's something that I think I got to keep pushing myself with, or constantly push myself with, to get out of the comfort zone to grow, obviously, right? Because you can get a little stagnant.
There it is.
And I was, because I wasn't, when I hooked up with Sasha and he started doing my training plans and stuff like that, like a few years ago, like I said, exponential results from it all, you know, like and at one point I got, you know, when I was doing it with him over a period, I got down to 8% body fat and stuff like that, which, you know, is it's hard to get, like hard to do. That's discipline, right? Like, and that was hard, you know, some of it, like the training don't have a problem with. It's the discipline with the food sometimes is what I get, you know, like I'm great during the week. I'm awesome during the week. But when I get to the weekend, I fuck off a little bit and I'm having a good time. And I'm just like, but I don't even really drink that much. But I do, like, I've got a massive sweet tooth. So that was, that was a hard thing. But but doing that and changing and training up all the time constantly, you get way more. I was getting so much more enjoyment because I got to the point where I was like, I'm going no matter what to the gym. But I'm not looking forward to it. Like, because I love the mental relief, and like you'll get halfway to 3/4 through and then you're like, like the testosterone's flowing. You're just like, yes. Like, you know, that feeling was always coming. But it got better with that. But switching into a different environment, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to go in this. Like, I don't want to go into a roid munching, you know what it's like, the stereotypes of the gyms. And you're like, I don't know what this is like. I know a few people go here now. They say it's pretty good. I'm like, okay, I'll go have a look. And I got into it. I'm like, I like this vibe, you know? Yeah, because everybody is getting after it. And I was like, okay, because I was one of the 5 people maybe in that gym that were really getting after it, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, there's more than that probably, but like, you know, like there's some old timers in there and whatever. People just, you know, doing it to do the thing, and they were more sociable than anything. Whereas I got in there just straight, you know, everyone's in and I'm just in there. And just, everyone getting after it. And I was like, man, that effect that it had on me, I'm pushing 25% harder now.
Boom.
Just in that environment, man, it was a huge thing, eh? And sure, there's a little more talent around. That's a lot better to look at, you know. I will say that helped. I'm a red-blooded man. You cannot take this away from me. It was fantastic. It is fantastic. And I'm just like, you know, it's just those little things. But the everyone getting after it was just a huge thing, eh? When you're in that environment, you're like, absolutely. Okay, this did a thing. And I know there's other aspects of my life that I needed that will have that kind of effect, like my workplace. Like I've been there 11 years, man. I don't really like, I'm good at what I do, but I'm like, I don't really, it's just a means to an end. And it always was. And it was like my acting and everything that I was doing outside of that, that would get me through kind of the day, but it's not exactly a good mentality to be in, and I'm still in that. Like, it's just, you got to do what you got to do. I got to pay for this, and everything else. And, like I made that choice to do that, but I know that's kind of like one of the final frontiers for me to get out of that environment, people are still cool and stuff that I work with, but it's just, it's like, I think I've gone through so many stages of that negative connotation that's like sitting with me at that place. Like up to a point where I was pulling in uniform on going, I fucking hate this. It's such a bad, but it was also a lot of negative things that were going on in my life that I maybe was seeping into that as well and pushing it into that. But a lot of things, it's just like, I think the fundamental one though is like, I know I am meant for so much more than this. And it's hard to sit with that and like have this tied to my identity that I'm like, I don't really want to say, because I know I'm better than this and I'm meant for more than this, but I got to do this to do that. It's just, I think that's fundamentally the number one thing that gets me. Is that I know I can do so much more than what I'm doing right now. And unfortunately, this is where I'm making the money and that I can do and, but I don't know at what point I just got to go, because I think I'm holding myself back as well from achieving greatness, if you know what I mean, because of that as well. So it's like at some point I got to take the plunge. It's been this, I'm on the tip of the diving board, right?
I'm hearing
and I'm on the high board. And I'm like, this is great. The crowd around. I'm gonna hit a 10 when I get in that water. But I got to get my bounce right and I got to synchronize this thing to get, to make that happen and win the gold medal or whatever, it is. It's just, and you're stuck on that edge of that diving board ready to jump off, but it's like, you're not, like you're glued to it, it's just, and it's like, it's hard because it's like the fabric of society that's been set out for us of like this constant thing of like, do these jobs. Like we're all indoctrinated to do these jobs, to keep the world running and the people up there keep getting the money, and they're the ones that are getting fruitful for all the hard labor that we're nourishing, And it's just like, okay, well, but they were smart enough to get themselves in a position to live those lives, whether they're happy or not, that's another thing in itself. But it's just, you're like, you got to oil the cogs, for the cogs to move and to
correct,
and to move in the right way. But it's like, it's just finding a way. I mean, everybody, preaching to the choir, like everybody goes through these things and most people are living it, right? It's just, that part I'm trying to figure out. Like I haven't figured, I'm trying to, I think I know, I know what I need to do, but it's like how to find that thing to make the money to still, or obviously what the ultimate goal would be, like this and everything else taken off and one thing taken off. I've always said it's like the domino effect. You just got to get all the dominoes in place because for the one thing, you don't know what it's going to be, but that one thing that falls and then as long as you're, like you're going to be successful and you're going to propel yourself off the opportunities that you get. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that's a smart way of thinking of it. But it's just, it's like I haven't quite figured out exactly how to make the money out of the things that you love, which is obviously the ultimate goal in all this, and helping people and giving back in your own right, and bringing on the next generation of people, using your knowledge and how, and that's why you get guys like yourself, ladies on, everyone that are inspirational people that are on a great journey. And I feel like that's the stories that need to be heard when you're at that point of building your career, you haven't, maybe you're not like, some of the people, are doing great things, but it's like they haven't punched through the ceiling yet and blowing up, but you can see what you're seeing in these people like the Jessica Green, like yourself. And I'm like, I'm keeping an eye on these people for years. I know they're going to kill it. They're going to, they're killing it, but quietly killing it, if you know what I mean. And it's like getting to that point of blowing through the ceiling. But that's why I think it's important to hear these stories and the journey of people that they go through, because it's what you don't hear, you hear their overnight success and then 20 years later, they're telling you their life story of actually what they were, like the Arnie story or, anyone, man, that is like The Rock and, all these guys that are like, larger than life. But you like have no idea that they haven't had like any, you know, a pot to piss in at some point, and like, and they're just like, they were at a way lower point than you were. So what's your excuse, you know? But it's, you get stuck in the whole rat race of things. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, life's hard, man. Like it's just not, none of it's easy, but none of the fruitful stuff comes from being easy either, right? Like,
exactly.
But yeah, it's something that I'm constantly trying to work on right now. And it's like, you see paths to do it.
Yeah.
But then it's taking that plunge, I guess, too. Or that's the tricky thing.
I like what you said earlier, which is actually spot on, you know, because there's a lot of people that can relate to what you've just said. Yeah. You know, you can see the path. And sometimes taking the plunge might be the wrong move, if you will. Or not wrong move. It just might mean that you put yourself in a position where you have to go through 10 other roads just to get back to where you were and to continue. Yeah. You know,
and that's the fear of it too, though, right? Of taking that plunge. Yeah.
But there was a second thing that you said. Sometimes you've just got to get all the domino pieces, and then one day you won't know which piece it is. Yeah. It'll come. And then that's the piece that was made to knock over and begin the rest of the domino effect, if you will. Yeah. And I think if you're in a position like yourself, I think greatness is around the corner, and you can feel it intuitively. You can feel it, you know, and, you know, a little side teaching that I like to teach people, the difference between intuition and instinct. Do you know the difference?
Human me.
Intuition and instinct, yeah. So instinct is something that's
because they are very close.
They're very close.
I'm like, I do, but maybe I don't. You know, like because they are very close, like they're brother and sisters, really.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, to be instinct, I was actually listening to a motivational speaker. He was saying, you know, a lion can be locked up in a cage for, 20 years. And the reason, the circus people lock up that lion in the cage, because they know instinctively that lion knows he doesn't belong in the cage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no matter how many circus shows he's done, he has to go back in the cage, because at any given moment, instinct is going to tell him, wow, wait a minute. I can actually tear everything around here up, all right? So instinct is that inner knowledge that you actually belong somewhere to be doing something else. Yeah. Right? Intuition is to be in tune. So in alignment with what's going on in the universe, if you will, if you want to get spiritual with that talk. Yeah. So when you say something like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something great, that's your intuition talking. You're about to be in tune. You know what I mean? Instinct will get you out of the situation that you're in. In tune will give you that feeling of knowing that you're supposed to be more. Yeah. And once those two start to align, you'll know the decision to make. Yeah. You will know with clarity, okay, I've got to walk away from this job right now.
And that's the clarity thing though too, right? Absolutely. It's like being present and doing all the other things, because like, let's face it, like people got vices, right? Everyone's got something. Absolutely. And that can kind of numb your sense of reality and understanding of the situations though too. Absolutely. Like the thing that you love could be the detrimental thing that's like stopping you from achieving greatness, know, too. Absolutely. Which is a thing to figure out with time and maturity, Yep. But yeah, I know what you're saying. And it's like, because you get these opportunities, right? Like, and maybe it's I'll just use the acting as example of like, oh, they want you for this. And it's like, okay, I've done years of extra work. Yeah, I want to get on that production. Yeah, I want to be down there with the boys or, the girls and whatever else. And like, and I know it's going to be a great environment, but I'm like, do because you know what it's like when you get on the background and you're like, I know I'm a star player, but I'm sitting on the bench here, like just setting it for you guys to do the best work. I mean, it's part of it and being humble for it, but there's there's a point where, and this is what I was sort of saying before, of like where you go, your self-worth of like, should I keep doing this to myself? Because like it's all about mindset, obviously, and what you're down there to do. And you're getting paid to do a thing that you love. Yeah, you're not the main character. And the spotlight's not on you, but you're still, you got a job to do and you love doing it. And kind of once you're there, you're like, yeah, this is great. I mean, what was I even thinking of turning this down? But so you get those opportunities, and it's a really hard thing. And as you would know, and like it's hard when you don't have a flexible job, right? And like you're like, oh, they want you for this and this date, like it might be a week of work, but it's like 3 days here, 2 here, and 1 down there or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, how am I going to even explain this? Like
Just
to
to
try
be-
and get it off. And then my boss is an asshole. And it's
Yeah.
like, and he makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
I might as well just call in sick. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because this whole conversation never goes well. And now you know that I want to call that when I call in sick on this because you didn't give it to me and you know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So you go through those mental gymnastics all
Boom.
the time of the thing. But yeah, I got better at going, like, I think where you say the instinct and intuition, you're like, nah, I feel like this one is a good one to be on.
Boom.
Because you turn down some.
Boom.
You do. And you're like, okay, is it worth this like headache of this thing and then it making my life difficult for like the next 4 weeks or whatever at work just to go do these few days that I really do want to go do.
Yeah.
But it like creates so much stress and anxiety within yourself. And then that doesn't in turn feed everything else that you're trying to do. You know, you start to get in tune with yourself and like the scenario and the situation, the universe, right?
There you go.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And you can panic like though too. Like if you're not quite in the right headspace and you get that up, you're like, oh no, like I don't know what to do. And I'll start melting, you know, at the decision. You're just like, hold on, just wait.
Yeah.
What's the fundamentals of this?
Hello.
Hey, do you want to do this thing?
Right.
Is this a project worth doing?
Right.
And like, is it worth going and talk to him and getting the headache? Or do you just go, you know what? I'm just rolling the dice on this one. I'm calling in sick for that day because I need to go down. I know I need to be on this. So yeah, it's making those decisions, isn't it? But it's a bigger one and I think now I know what you're saying. It's like, you're like, oh, do I chuck in this job now? Because that's what you hear of these success stories, right?
Yeah.
People just chuck it in, throw it in. Freaking out. It still records. I know that comes on after a while. And then you're like, oh, you know, you hear the success stories of people that just like, they just chucked it in, they just said no, you know, and then they're just like, I'm just doing this and I'm only doing this. But you don't also hear about all the people that like spiraled out of control and didn't, you know, that went, it is a thing, it's a choice. But I think, it's like one of those things like when you make a choice, you got to be like, okay, yep, I made that choice and I'm going with it.
There it is.
But it is hard though. Like I've had situations like, so that I'm still thinking, you know, like I hate to regret. Like I remember I made a pact with myself a long time ago. Like I never want to live life and regret that I didn't take the opportunity, you know, like as much as possible.
Right.
Because that's hard to sit on those things. But even then, sometimes you still do make, maybe it's the wrong decision. You see down the track, you're like, I really should have done that.
Absolutely.
Like, man. But that was like a circumstance, you know, within yourself to be like, right, okay, don't make that mistake. Okay, you feel like this.
Yeah.
So don't make that mistake again, you know, because otherwise, you know, you're going to feel that again, right? It's just, intuition and instinct. Right. Yeah. When they align, you make the right decision.
Absolutely.
You feel good about it. Yeah. It's a beast, eh?
It is.
It's a real beast, man. Like it's, It's see, that's why it was easy when you've got those other outside things happening and everything's going well. But when you're not, you're not getting roles or you don't have projects on the cards, you're like, then you start looking within, right? And you're like, oh, the negative starts to pop out. And that's always the easiest thing to focus on. Yeah. It's a beast.
It is.
It's a thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, when do you like to be in bed at a certain time, eh? So you,
No, you're good, man. You're good. Yeah.
Well, what are you feeling like, man? What would you like to, you know, what would you like to tell people? What sort of wisdom would you like to embark on people that are listening to this? Like, you know, like that you've lived through, like, you know, circumstance. Obviously, you've come from certain situations in life, and your family had to work really hard to get you and kids in a good place to then for them to be fruitful and succeed, you know, and do what they want to do, you know. It's like you've lived through a lot of things, like, you know, ups and downs like we all have. Like, what can you best say to people that you have? I mean, you've already said a lot of things right now that I know that can help people, but is there some sort of wisdom that you could embark on people? Or?
Look, I'll definitely start off by saying, you know, based off my experiences in itself in life, you know, they're just experiences. And the moment they have definition is when they go against something that's within us, you know, when they challenge our belief system or, you know, when they contradict the way we perceive the world. and that's when they have meanings. Otherwise, they're not there to define you. They're not there to stop you from growth. They're not there to break you down. What happens as a result based on your experiences is on you. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's important to know that, because experiences present themselves because there's some level of compatibility between you and what's going on around you, you know. For example, if you always get extra roles, something about you is compatible to you being perceived as a person that's getting this. I look at my life when I was the party goer, you know, hosting nightclubs, et cetera, drug dealers and everyone was coming to me. I was the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Bit of laundering here, this, that, and the other, you know. But the moment I became sober, train every day of the week, wake up at 3 a.m., do my prayers, my meditation, all these other elements, my environment and how life presented itself to me was completely different. And that's not to say there's no dark days. That's always going to come. But those dark days or those challenges or those adversities, they come because there's an element in me that needs evolution, that needs growth, that needs transforming. And ultimately what I'm trying to tell individuals, or what I encourage individuals to remember, is this: nothing that happens in life to you, for you, or through you is there to break you or stop you. You're not to be defined by circumstances, and to always remember that you are more than what you've become. You are more than what happens to you, you know. And if you can remember that, then you just keep turning up, show up for yourself first, and let the rest take care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
There you go.
We could end on that one. I
Yeah.
think that's a brilliant positive note to end on.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But thanks a lot for coming on,
Most
brother, and
welcome,
sharing
bro.
your journey with us.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been great to chat to you, bro. I mean, I could keep going for hours, but Gideon needs his bedtime.
Indeed.
So does Dan as well, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, no, that's it, man. And it's great to have you on. And I know we could keep going, right? Like it's a thing that we could keep going on different subjects and everything. But I think we've given people a taste of what you're about and what you're doing with your life and the great path that you're on, man. And it's just, I mean, I can see nothing but greatness within you, man. And you're just continually striving for that, bro. Like you've just said to yourself, you don't need me saying it, but I see it, man. And I've seen your hustle like through the years. And I'm like, always, if I see a video of yours pop up, you know, I'm on social media less and less and less every day.
I see you double tap.
Always, bro, always. But I'll watch it, and it's very real. Like it doesn't even matter who it is. It's very rarely I'll watch a video and actually watch the whole thing or read the spiel that you have about it. Yeah, because I know what I'm going to get from it. Well, sometimes I don't, but I know it's going to be positive in some way to look at it. You know, and that's why I love the hustle and what you're doing. It's really inspiring, really motivational. And man, I just want you to keep doing it, bro. Like I'm in your corner, bro, and I'll always be the cheerleader, bro, for you.
Thank you for my flowers, man. Thank you.
That's it, brother. Yeah, man, thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate you taking your time out, man. I know you're a busy guy, so but everyone can hear what you're about, you know, and they can follow the links and everything. Follow this guy on social media because he's the one. And you're the truth, bro. So just keep going, man.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Legend.
Righto, guys. That's us. We're out.